guys, this is Hunter Levine, and thank you for listening to the Captain's Collective podcast, brought to you by Skinny Water Culture, Florida Fishing Products, Costa Sunglasses, Turtle Box Audio, and Orvis Fly Fishing. In today's episode, we sit down with Christina and Jeff Legutki and talk about what it looks like to build and design a life that you love. In this conversation, Jeff and Christina share with us different perspectives people have on wealth and what accomplishment and success looks like. During this conversation, you're going to get a chance to peek behind the curtain of Jeff and Christina's life and see just what it is that makes them so special. We really hope that this podcast helps you. If you're enjoying it, please continue to share it with your friends and learn more at captainscollective.com. Thank you guys again for listening. This is the Captain's Collective. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me this morning. My first time fishing in Naples, which was really cool, and got to see a couple different scenarios, which I always enjoy getting to, see some backwater, see some beach, and just kind of get a little bit of a taste of what your home water looks like. And I appreciate you guys for carving out some time today.
Hey, it's not a problem.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, so you guys are my first couple that I've interviewed, which is exciting. And when I was talking to Jeff about setting the podcast up, I was like, I'd listened to your Millhouse podcast and, followed you. And I was like, it'd be kind of fun to do something different and get an opportunity to, just hear from both of you guys and talk about life and fishing and try to draw up a little bit of wisdom. Can I get you guys both grew up here. Can I get quick bios of you guys, maybe just in case people don't know?
Sure. I'm Christina Legutki. I did grow up here on the water in Naples. I'm a native. Grew up spin fishing here. Fell in love with just everything on the water. My family, we've always had boats and just always been really familiar with the waters here in Naples. And I tried to move away for a little bit after college, and that didn't last very long. I found myself running right back here. It's where I'm comfortable. I love this place.
There's really nowhere like Florida. I mean, there's so many different, everywhere I go, whether you go to, Jacksonville or you go to the rural panhandle, you go to the Keys, you go here, you're close to Everglades. And I mean, there's just so much diversity in what you can fish, what you can do. I mean, you want to go to Disney for, I don't know why, but you want to go to Disney for a week, you can do it. I mean, it's got everything.
Every part of Florida is so different.
Did you stay in the state or did you move out far?
No, I moved up to Chicago for a year.
Very.
That's why you're home.
Very different from Florida. Yeah.
Very different.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jeff?
Same story. I mean, born and raised here, back then there was nothing to Naples.
Mm-hmm.
It was very small, very few houses, to where as a kid we had the freedom to roam around and go fish and do whatever we wanted.
Was there a lot of snowbirds when you were a kid? What was the kind of industry or the main driver?
It was a growing town, and more or less it was a senior citizen retirement kind of town.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't much here, shuffleboard courts, there were some golf courses, and I think that was the big draw back in the 80s, like the country club lifestyle, the golf courses, and probably like the 80s when Naples really started to grow and build.
If you had to put like a number on it in the 80s, I mean, population-wise, what do you think it was around?
Oh, God, I don't even know how to answer that question.
I don't even know what our
What if
population
you're going to try
now.
to fraction it from where it is today? Is it a fifth of what it is today if you had to guess?
Probably less.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
I
was
mean, you to
small.
know just about everybody, first name basis. We didn't lock our doors or anything like that, just like all the old stores everywhere. If you drive around here and you look at all the suburban neighborhoods, there's a house every house that's on like a quarter acre, more or less, correct?
Yeah.
Back then you'd see, one house, 10 empty lots, another house, another 10 empty lots, Like when we were teenagers, we'd just go down to where all the condos are now, and we'd just walk the seawalls for miles. There'd be one house, you have to kind of dip around, but then you had several 100 yards of open seawall where we fish off the docks and stuff like that, and it was just empty.
Earlier we were talking about like there's always this draw to I think everybody does it. You start thinking about, we could move to this country. We could move to this place. We could have this lifestyle. We could live in a tiki hut, I mean, just everybody, it's kind of fun, It's like you're thinking through all the different ways your life could look. But for you guys, what's the main draw for Naples? Why stay?
It doesn't get any prettier than this place. And I mean,
it is paradise.
It's comfort for us too, because we
home.
are both from here, and I think so much of the beauty. I mean, you go to so many other, not just places, even in Florida, and Naples is so pristine. It's so well kept. It's just there's no other place in Florida like it.
Do you feel like that's a positive of the culture? Like I know it's expanding, and that's hard to see, but I mean, you talk about it being pristine, not the waters, but just in general. Do they take pride in?
I think it's easy for us to take for granted because we've seen it forever. She's saying everything's pristine. Everything is. There's no garbage anywhere. There's no graffiti anywhere. Even just the medians are perfectly manicured and landscaped, and just everything has all the businesses are perfectly kept up. Nothing is run down. Everything is just in pristine shape because it does draw. I mean, it's very expensive to live here. So the amount of money, I guess, that the city pulls in, through taxes and everything, has enough to keep everything going,
Yeah, I mean, and I'm guessing too, with a lot of the older population, not too many 80-year-old ladies running around graffitiing things. I mean, you probably have your divergence, but no, I mean, it seems like a great place for kids too. I know you guys are raising kids here.
Yes.
It's perfect now. It really is. When I was younger, it was kind of tough because it was
not a whole lot to do.
Right, the demographics were senior citizens. The kids are loud and we're causing problems, and
But I think now we miss those days
but
when it was quieter.
It was different. There wasn't a lot of families and stuff. There was a few. There was one high school. There's one middle school and whatnot. Now I think there's over a dozen high schools, and it's grown so much, and the demographics have changed so much to where it does appeal to everybody now. Now it has everything for the kids. It's a great place to raise a family.
Yeah, we kind of go through that thinking about our kids because, as I travel and do these podcasts, the grass is always greener when you're traveling, especially if you go out on the water and you have that special day and you're like, you're thinking, this fishery or this culture, or this community, small town, big town, whatever it is, and the grass is always greener, and things have their pros and cons. But, when you have kids who are wanting to, if you have a kid who wants to start playing tennis or whatever, shuffleboard, or, you have a kid, this is tough for kids if you want to do graffiti, though. If you want to get into the whole graffiti thing, it's a tough scene. But, I mean, outside of that, I think that, that's something that I've noticed, too, with people is they sometimes we struggle a little bit to see the good in our own backyard, or we take it for granted. Talk to me about the water, though, because you guys have a really cool fishery here, too. You got some struggles. You were talking about seagrass.
Well, we have struggles like everywhere else in the state, when it comes to water issues and whatnot. A lot has changed. It's changed so much. In the 40 years that, I've been playing on the water,
Shorelines have definitely changed.
I guess with the growing population, the growing presence of people on the water, the more boats and the bigger boats, the human footstep is more or less walking all over everything now. It's a great fishery. We have endless options for a person that does like the shallow water fishing. The fly fishing, the sight fishing. Naples is the perfect destination, Not only do we have, the Everglades National Park 45 minutes away, I can drive 2 hours to the other side of the state and I could be fishing Biscayne Bay, I can go 3 hours to the south and I'm in the Florida Keys, If I want to go bass fishing, I got Lake Okeechobee, Lake Trafford within an hour and a half drive. We're blessed with the options that we have, and it's a short drive, compared to, a lot of other people around the country, you talk to people who have to drive 6-8 hours just to find a place to go fishing,
Yeah. or can only do one type. They're just locked in on.
That's right.
You know, they have mountain trout and maybe smallmouth or something,
Right.
but I mean, it's not a large variety. And even today, you guys have all the backwater with the mangroves, and then you also have the beach side. You know, talk about, because you know, Christina, I know you've run a canoe some, and then now you have another skiff, right?
Yes, a little Hell's Bay Devil Ray.
But you know, you guys have like water that you can dump a canoe in and be lost in some mangroves. What's the different types of fishing trips you run?
So I'll take the canoe. I'll fish sometimes like the flooded grass. I'll take it up into some like little creeks, little areas that I can't get my other boat into. And then if I want to go do some bigger water stuff, I'll drop the little Devil Ray in the water and go do some really neat stuff in the salt water and chase after other species.
What were you doing before you started building your own guide service?
Real estate, like everybody else in Florida.
Well, it can be very lucrative here.
Yeah, there's a lot of people doing real estate. So, you know, real estate, you can go out, you can make as much money as you want.
Right.
But why for you, why not just fish with Jeff and fish with your friends? What kind of led you to wanting to do it?
So, even though I was in real estate, I was also part-time at our local fly shop, Mangrove Outfitters. And I was starting to do a lot of ladies' events there. Mm-hmm. We were doing fly tying nights, we were doing casting clinics, and I was finding so many of these women coming up to me and they were saying, "Oh, I'd really like to learn how to fly fish," or "I've tried to do fly fishing, and you know, I go with my husband, but he just kind of yells at me," and it's like, which I can relate to. I know I learned from my own husband.
No comment.
But it just kind of, I was hearing the same story over and over again, and I was like, you know what? I've got my little boat. I only had the Ginu at the time, but I kind of started just thinking about, you know, what that might look like to just maybe start bringing ladies out. I mean, I didn't want to be crazy busy like my husband and out every single day, but you know, I thought that was something that I could do on the side, and that's why I kind of shifted into that gear, and just I got my captain's license, and you know, Jeff really worked with me a lot on just learning. I mean, I learned so much from him over the years, not only as an angler, but like how to just be a really great guide. And you know, I'm still learning so much myself, and you know, but a lot of my anglers too are brand new, so it's kind of neat. We're all growing together.
Yeah.
And it's been
you know, I think
really
like,
fun.
To me, you know, I have two girls, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I take them fishing some, but what I focus on is just them being outside. I don't, you know, whatever they want to do. My 8-year-old's actually really starting to catch the bug for herself, which is fun, and you know, that'll probably come and go. But as they look at things, it's interesting. Like when I've had female guests on in the past, and it means something to them, you know, and I think it's really cool because, you know, everybody sits around and has opinions on everything every other guide does, but to a client too, there's probably a lot of women that, you know, they choose the guide not because they have 40 years guiding experience, but because they think, you know what, I think I'll have my best experience. I think I'll really enjoy the time on the water with this person. There's something about them that draws them.
100%. And to me, like, I find that most of these women, it's like if I can just make them feel comfortable and take away like a lot of the nerves, and just, you know, hey, we may not catch fish that day, but you know what, they picked up some extra skills on their casting, or they picked up another 20 yards on their cast, and you know, I try to make it as fun as possible for them, and just have them relaxed, because especially when you're new, it's not easy. It's a hard game, and
it's intimidating.
It is intimidating, and you know, my goal is just to show them a really good time and to make them feel as relaxed as possible.
And I think that's what most people are paying for, to have a good time, you know, especially people who don't have tons of money and they've saved up, and that day rate, they feel it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And so the last thing they want to catch fish, but really what they want is they want to have a good day and enjoy it. Jeff, for you do Everglades, you do here in Naples. Do you guide out of Biscayne or the Keys? Like, what's the?
No, I stay in my own home waters. I have enough business here. And, it's a hard place to beat.
Yeah.
Fishing's fishing. You gotta work for it. You gotta put everything together. But the great thing about here, like our busy season, I would say is, like when the snowbirds start coming down, let's say November, through up until summer. But the great thing about this area is we have so much protection for the islands and everything that we don't. The cold fronts that come through the winter doesn't, dampen our ability to go fishing. To whereas the wintertime, the Keys, Biscayne Bay, I mean, it's a little tougher there.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason for me to go and take people fishing other places to where I have everything here. Know, as far as the protection and the weather goes, the way the Everglades lays out, we all have to fish at tide in the ocean, and so we're trying to line up our spots by the the water levels and stuff. And the great thing about the Everglades is it's such a big, vast area that I can run interior and I can race a tide 3 hours and continue fishing a particular level that I want to be, throughout the course of the day, So I basically, November through the end of June, I'm in the Everglades. Once the rains show up and the water starts getting real tan and brown and real high, I move into Naples, Summertime in Naples, as you saw today, like off the beaches, can be just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Get away from that tannin runoff water from the Everglades. It's quite appealing, after fishing the tea-colored waters for so long.
Everybody has different. I've learned already that everybody has different standards for clean water. Like, I was in Louisiana with Ty Hibbs, and we pulled up this pond. He goes, "Oh man, perfect, dude." He goes, "This is clean," and I thought he was being sarcastic. I'm like thinking I'm good. Let's go somewhere else. He's like, "No, like, this is clean for here," and we could still see fish, but
Sure.
The beach was beautiful, green water pushing in, and and it's kind of neat to go within a matter of one snack from being, we were joking when we were back in the mangroves and stuff, you forget there are other humans, and then you go out to the channel and you're quickly reminded there are other humans.
Right. Yes.
Yes. Some of them are built a little different, but
yes.
Saw a guy run up on a bar and get stuck.
Yeah,
and
qualified captain action there.
Figuring it out. But one of the things I noticed on the boat, and I'd heard this from several people, Jeff, is that you're a great coach, and even Christina was talking about learning from you, and we briefly dove into some of the nuances from learning from your spouse, which is a book coming out that you guys are writing.
We should.
Oh boy. I don't know.
But I think the coaching piece is really cool, because even for me, fishing different fisheries, somebody who, I haven't even been doing this for a decade as far as actually really chasing after stuff with fly, and, hey, do this, change this on your cast, see how that goes. And you got a lot of illustrations and analogies, a yo-yo, so, I have to update them for the next generation. A slingshot, that was one of them.
He's the analogy king.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the trick.
But you're going to start having clients go, "What's a yo-yo? What's a slingshot?"
This is true.
Remember when you're
like the hour hand clock?
Yeah.
He will tell you
that's
an
getting
analogy.
Different now. Kids are growing up in a digital era. You say, "Hey, 10 o'clock."
10
and
o'clock.
like, "Nah, man, it's 11." It's
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. You're just going to start saying, point your rod tip. Left. But, you have I like your coaching style, because you're paying a lot of attention, and I can see, I know for me, there'll be times where I did 8, I'm making up a number, but 8 things wrong. It's like, okay, well, what's the most important thing to say? Let's start there with the back cast, or, and you're trying to figure out too. I feel like even for me, I have a desire to learn, and I really want to learn. It's where the podcast was born from. But everybody has a saturation point too, where you're like, okay, remember the 8 different things Jeff said to work on, and I'm just not that smart. There's people who can really make adjustments. But you're a great coach. Where do you think that came from?
You know, probably from my father, you know, just giving me advice and whatnot, you know, and just, man, it's a sickness. I can't help myself when I'm out there. You know, I want everybody to do the best they possibly can, you know, and that's why I have so many different analogies and metaphors trying to, you know, reach that person, that clientele. Because I only have so much time in the day for them to be able to catch a fish, you know, and if they show up and, like, let's just say they have little experience in doing it, it's like, okay, I got to work on this and this and this. But once again, I only have so much time, so it's little short steps, you know, one thing at a time. You know, maybe it's the back cast, you know, maybe I'm pushing too hard on the forward, you know. And I always want to help. And sometimes, like I've learned over the years, like you were just saying, I'm looking for that metaphor. And sometimes, this is probably wrong of me, but I expect to be able to give somebody a little tip and it's going to click like, oh, great, thanks, dude. But it doesn't work like that, you know? And I'm guilty of like, okay, that didn't work. Maybe I'll tell them the same thing in a different way. You know, I'm trying to reach that part of recognizing what they need to do. And sometimes it's easy for me to overload people, you know, to where I could see like they're kind of clogging up. They're thinking too much now, and that could be a problem as well.
They start apologizing. You know? Sorry.
Well, it's not necessarily that, but you could see them just, they're casting even worse than, you know, they started because they're trying to do so many different things. You know, fly fishing is a game of muscle memory. No matter what I tell you on the boat today, it's not going to make a difference because you got to go through the steps and you got to create that muscle memory. So when the moment comes up and that fish pops out, you're not even thinking about it. It has to naturally happen right now. You know, if I have to tell you, oh, you're a little left, a little right, you're a little straight, you got to go a little longer, you're a little short, it's over. It's done, you know. I always, my favorite guys that I fish with year after year after year are the guys who show up like that, and then they go home and they practice what we did on the boat that day. And then they come back the next year and immediately I could see a change. And then, you know, they want to take that next step. And then it's, you know, I see the progression and I see doors opening up in their mind, and it's easy for them to take in information and utilize it right there on the spot, you know. And through this progressive little baby step, everything starts to make sense a little easier, a little quicker, and the better angler starts to develop even faster, you know. But it takes time, you know. And I would say all my good repeat clientels, you know, all my Bobs and Daves and Aarons and you guys have been with me for, you know, decades, you know, just they're the guys with that kind of mentality, like, I want to do better, I want to do better, I want to do better, compared to, you know, the other Joe Schmo that comes up, you know, it's like, oh, great to see you, Cap. I haven't touched a rod since I saw you last year. It's like, this is going to be difficult today, you know. And
I mean, for me, I think the illustrations kind of, they stick in your head, you know. That's why a lot of pastors use them, because a lot of times they remember, oh, there was like this illustration, it stuck with me, you know. So if it's, you know, the slingshot thing, it's like, hey, like you're, you know, that's a great way of saying punching, right? Like, but for whatever reason, that sticks in your head a little better, you know. And you were saying to give that one, I want to get a couple more from you on recording. But, you know, if you're pulling back a slingshot, you just let it go. Correct. You don't start to move forward and then let it go and lose some of the energy. Yeah.
That's right.
So what are some of your other, you know, if we were doing a quick segment here, Christina, feel free to chime in, because I'm sure you've heard a few over the years.
Before you even answer that question, baby, there's one thing that I say all the time. The only time my wife and I fight is when it comes to the fly fishing. Because I want to make her the absolute best angler out there, to where, like, I'm very, you know, I see little kinks, like, if you do this, it's going to make it better. So she's going to say one thing right off the bat right here that I'm not going to say it, you know, but she's going to say that I hate it. And I make comments to this day.
What, ping pong?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
The ping ponger, you know, drives me nuts.
Yeah.
What's a ping ponger?
Ping ponger, you want to explain it, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
So I think of ping pong because, like, you know,
The way you move the paddle.
the way you're moving the paddle, the way you hold it. So you can get the job done by using the power of your wrist, but you also have your whole arm, forearm, bicep, shoulder, to create the same amount of power, right? So when we first started going through the process of learning how, she started getting really good, but the ping pong is when you're throwing at your target. It's kind of like sliding your iPhone, trying to open it up, where your thumb is sliding back and forth on the top instead of being behind the push of the rod.
Pushing with your thumb.
Pushing with your thumb.
Hence come more analogies.
Correct. The ping pong is just the
With
power
the
of the wrist. So,
peanut
like, you know, on a short, if we're doing the redfish and snook like we did today, we're beating the bush, you can get away with it. You know what I mean? It's a short 30, 40-foot shot. But the minute, like, let's say I'll take her tarpon fishing, now I'm giving her an 11 weight, and now it's blowing 20 miles an hour. The power of the wrist by the ping pong is not strong enough to utilize the bigger rod. To whereas, you know, I got so many analogies.
Yeah, go
You know,
for
like
it.
sometimes I say, like, hey, have you ever heard of a finger tack? You've heard of a finger tack before?
Yeah, use your thumb to.
It's called a
push it in.
thumb tack, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah, thumb
Have you ever
tack.
tried pushing a tack into the wall with just your finger? It's kind of hard, but you put your thumb, it drives right in. So my analogy to those people, it's like, look, use your thumb. You're going to get all the power. You're going to go behind the spine of the rod, and you're going to get a lot more power, less effort. You know, and it's going to make a straight cast. You know?
Yeah, he would use an analogy with me until it stuck. And I think it stuck.
What are
Because-
some other ones? Are you about to give us another one?
Oh gosh, flicking a paintbrush, like trying to imagine you're flicking, you know, paint onto a wall, pushing with your thumb. Peanut butter.
Flicking the peanut butter off a spoon.
Yeah, peanut butter off of a spoon. You know, just more ways for me to use my thumb to drive that power. When I was learning to double haul, you know, it was resistance of like a rubber band, you know, pretending you have a rubber band and, you know, using that stretch. And I mean, he had such a way of trying to drill that into my brain. And I mean, I feel like
Well,
the
that's
more he
yeah.
used, the more I dug my heels in.
You know,
Well,
when
the rubber
one-
band makes sense because
Yes.
I remember when I first started, you know, I had fly fished a little bit growing up, but, you know, I started in my mid-20s and I've been doing it that long. And I remember I looked up a video and, you know, it's some old YouTube video and there's a guy and he goes, I'm going to show you how to double hole. And he goes, just like that.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, just like that. But unless you're a drummer, you know, because a lot of us, like myself included, I grew up playing sports and stuff,
Right.
but my motor skills, if you were a drummer, I would imagine that would be nothing to you.
Right.
To be moving this arm like this and to be moving this up and down. Nothing. Probably nothing to you. But to your average person, I mean, most of us, you know, we walk into poles when we try to text and walk, you know. We're not great at multitasking.
And see, here's my sickness. Like, in my head, I'm trying to come up with, like, it wasn't 6 months ago. I'm a couple guys on a boat. I'm trying to think in my head how to describe the double haul. You know, and like I started thinking, it's kind of like, you know, when you're walking down the road, your arms are swinging back and forth, right? You have a rhythm as you go down the street. Down, up. It's like a stride. You know, your hands going apart every time, the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You know?
So you were saying that you got a lot of your coaching style from your dad. What was his job? Was he that way with you, or is that
No,
something you picked up?
I think what it comes down to is just my dad implying to me that, you know, being a guide is not just catching fish. You know, being a guide is being a guide, teaching them. You're the professor, you're the teacher. You know, they're here hiring you because you have the experience in this fishery and you're going to teach them something. You're going to go take them fishing. Well, you might as well teach them something that's going to last longer than the time on the boat. You know, it's different when you're putting a live shrimp on the end of a hook and you're going to a place, well, that's just a natural order of a fish. He needs to feed and eat. Well, here's a live, natural piece of food that you eat every day. It's easy for him to eat that. But now when I'm trying to convince that fish to eat some feathers, it's demanding, you know? So it's a tough game. to where like you can't just throw the fly out in the water and the fish are gonna come over and eat it. You know, it's demanding. It's technical, and for me, that's the draw, and it is for a lot of the people that come fishing with me. You know, it's the people that like that challenge. You know, so the game's constantly evolving. The pressure's constantly building. You know, water quality's changing. You know, like nowadays, I'm telling my buddies, like, man, the game of checkers has turned to chess. You know, what I used to be able to get away with 2-3 years ago, I can't do that anymore. I have to downsize my hook size. I have to drop my leader size. My casting technique has to change because every time I do an overhand cast, before the loop gets halfway to the fish, you see him recognize it and he's running already. You know, so it's always evolving. You know, is it the casting of the angler? Is it the size of the fly? Is it the technique that I'm using to move the boat around quietly? Am I contacting my push pole at the bottom as soft as possible? Am I pushing too fast? You know, it's just an evolution of a challenge, which is fantastic. You know, it's a tough game. You know, but I love it. And you know, the guys who are crazy about it like I am, they're the guys who are here playing the game. You know.
Christina, for you, were you already interested in fly fishing before you met Jeff, or did Jeff give you the bug?
Come on.
So
It's
funny
like it's
thing, that was part of, he likes to claim that's how I picked him up.
That's a fact.
That is kind of a fact.
Yeah.
I had an interest in fly fishing, yes. Like I said, I grew up here spin fishing, mostly bait stuff, so I was, you know, I was used to catching and, you know, the fun stuff. But when I met Jeff and he told me what he did for a living, you know, of course, I thought he was kind of cute, so I said, oh, this will be easy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I would love to learn how to do that, and, you know.
And men love,
And
to fit the stereotype, men love showing how to do things. Let me show you how
and
to.
he did, too.
Yeah.
I did.
He did. I could tell. He took full advantage of that opportunity, and he did, and he taught me, and I fell in love with it. And
She loved it. She had me going out in the worst conditions.
worst conditions.
Like, because she didn't know any better, you know? Like right when you started fly fishing.
Oh my gosh, ate up with it.
It was such a nasty day that,
Yes, the absolute worst conditions.
yeah, when she first got
Right.
into the fly fishing, like, you know, honeymoon stage.
Was
you
there
know?
a lot of pressure behind that trip? Like, it's almost like day one of a guide where you're like, oh, I really want to do good today.
No,
like, did
no,
you
it
feel a
was
lot of
nothing
pressure
like
the first
that.
time?
So, funny story, he wouldn't even take me out until I had practiced casting in the backyard for 2 weeks. He made me practice in the backyard for 2 weeks, and he's like, nope. And then the first time he ever took me out fly fishing, we went fishing in the dock lights because, you know, there's
Shoot fish in a barrel. you
Yeah,
know?
Yeah.
It's the
yeah,
easiest
a
way
lot of
possible.
opportunity. It was. He's like, I'm not taking you sight fishing. No way. So,
Yeah, but, you know, when we first started dating and she got into the fly fishing, like I said, the honeymoon stage, okay, I'll take you out. One day, we went out and it was 25, 30 miles an hour, just nasty. And I pull into one cove and I'm like, I don't think there's going to be any fish. I'm already trying to build it up to go back home. You know, I don't want to be out here. Lo and behold, here's like a 27, 20, and your snook just comes out underneath the trees, and she makes a good cast. The fish comes over, smashes the fly. She's all stoked. She's like, got my first snook
oh my
on the
gosh.
fly.
Sight fished my first. Yeah.
So from that point on, you know, like when bad weather or something, you want to go out, I'm poo-hooing about the weather. She's like, well, what about that one time? We did it then. We could do it again today. To where, like, doesn't
It
matter.
It could happen.
Yeah, bad weather, we're going.
The decoy fish.
Yes.
man.
In a way, just
Yeah.
forever will make you think that's the
Right.
conditions. And when you're, in a relationship with a guide, there's days where, maybe you get weathered
Very much.
out, and then now your girlfriend's going,
Yep.
are we
Hey.
really weathered out?
Right.
We need to go. It's your day off.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to drive by your client who's sitting at the condo and,
Right.
oh, I think that's my guide towing his boat to the ramp.
There's been a couple times where, like I had somebody on board, and we were only planning on doing a half a day, you know, to where like I'm texting her, I'm like, it's beautiful.
Meet me at the ramp.
Meet me at the ramp, you know, and
Yeah.
pull up, and I'd be kicking the guy off the boat so he could pick her up and go fishing. You know?
Yeah, and here I come stepping on. Here we go.
Yeah, the people might even be like, well, you know, there's still a lot of fish around. You want to stay out a little longer? I'm like, I got these things I got to do.
When I was young, I had a guy tell me, he said, you know, he was an older guy, and he was talking about time management and boundaries and all that. And he goes, you know, if people ask me to do stuff, and I always tell them I got a prior commitment. He goes, even if that prior commitment is to sit in my PJs or whatever and watch TV. So I'm 21 years old. It's a generational gap thing. I'm going, you know what? I'm gonna use that. In my generation, you know, I go back a week later. I'm like, I got a prior commitment. What you doing? You're like, I think there's a little generational courtesy miss there, but that's I think some of those types of things, even when you go out just for 2 hours, can be some of the best time. And sometimes I think I fish better when, you know, I feel like really limited in a window. It kind of can sometimes, I got to...
Pressure's on.
Puts a good pressure on. Christina, when you think about building your business, and I know that, you know, you're much earlier than Jeff, but when you think about it, what ways do you want your business to be different than his?
Well, we were kind of touching on that today when we were out there, and just how different our styles are anyway. You know, Jeff, he's been doing this for so long, and he is like such an amazing coach. For me, like, yes, if we catch fish, that is awesome. That's amazing. It is really about, for me, just building a community of ladies. So I mean, it's just, building a network of women. And I mean, that's really how it all started, because that's what I was doing at the fly shop with the ladies' fly tying nights and the casting clinics, and just really wanting to just get out there and show them a good time. And we are very different when it comes to our styles, because I'm, you know, he's hardcore, like, we're going to catch, you know, or I want to catch fish. And of course, that's always the goal. But for me and the ladies that I bring out, like I mentioned earlier, it's really like about having fun and showing them a good time, and you know, maybe learning a few new things, and myself included in that. I want to learn as well, and I do. Every time I go out, I learn something new. But you know, Jeff is always, I feel like, on my shoulder, in my ear. I tell him that all the time when I've got a trip or something, and I'm like, oh, I can hear him in my head right now, or I know what he would say right now.
You got to get the little WWJD bracelet.
What would Jeff do?
What would Jeff do? The newest fly fishing bracelet out in the market.
Yeah.
But that's cool, because it's kind of an extension of the shop stuff, you know, which, you know, you start to meet these people at the shop. And
very much.
You know, I know that, you know, something we were talking about earlier is you were just saying too, like, hey, you know, some of these places are pretty remote, you know, don't feel comfortable with my wife being out in the mangroves with somebody from who knows where. And at the same time, you know, with these ladies, it's probably, you know, really comfortable for them to have a guide who is a female.
There's an intimidation factor there that I've also found, you know, not only, you know, a lot of the ladies have also said, well, you know, I don't really feel comfortable going with, you know, a male guide yet. I'm not very good, and I don't want to be yelled at, or so I've found a lot of that. And it's just, you know, I want to be the female guide for the female angler, no matter what the level.
You know, it's totally different if you think about it, you know, between my clientele and her clientele. I have a man on the boat. I have two guys on the boat, you know, whether they're friends from way back or, you know, they're on a mission. You know what I mean? They've called me up. We're here to go fishing. We'll let's just say, for example, like, you know, it's tarpon season. Well, all we want to do is tarpon fish. I'm like, all right, great, whatever. The mentality is totally different between a man and a woman when it comes to this, if you think about it. You know, Christina's talking about a good time, this and that, you know, where a lot of the guys, they're bloodthirsty. You know, they're not going to have a good time unless they put their hands on a fish, you know.
It's interesting even what you're saying, because, you know, I've noticed that I've met these guys who, and even some of my dad's clients, they, you know, and obviously we don't want to play too much into stereotypes, but a good bit, they live in this world where, you know, for them to be chartering somebody for a week, they might be really high up in a company, and honestly, they want somebody to challenge them because they have, in their corporate world, the same thing that maybe some females are nervous about. They actually, I kind of want you to yell at me a little bit. It's like a weird fishing dominatrix, non-sexual dominatrix thing or something where, I want you to push me and challenge me because, or they live in an urban area that there's not a lot of outdoor intensity.
Right.
I mean, they might go on walks in a park, but they're excited to be there and they want that intensity. And then there's people who say, look, I want to see nature and I want to catch fish.
There is a huge difference in personalities, big difference.
Now, Jeff was telling me he wanted to build a network of women clients and,
Funny thing is, like, women always listen better than men.
Oh, yeah.
Women take instructions better on the boat than the guys do.
Yeah. And some of the women that I've met that are anglers are amazing anglers because it comes back to, actually for me with my sports background, if you have a sports background in something like football, like what I had, that translates so poorly into fishing because everything in your mind is telling you, push harder and just give it more. And, there's a little bit of, I feel like there's a little bit of not as much attention to some of the smaller details and.
True. And, bringing it back down to the personalities, like some people like to be challenged. Some people, as CEOs and companies, they're not used to being told what to do. I've had guys who've been, the head of multi-billion-dollar corporations, and like when you tell them, hey, you're not doing this right, you need to do like this in order to be successful. And there's people where like some of them can't handle that.
Yeah.
And then they start getting on themselves and they, like what we call getting heady. They start overthinking and overanalyzing. Whereas you have the other guys, that guy right there who's overanalyzing, he's starting to break himself down. He's second guessing himself. He's losing his confidence. To whereas, let's say, a guy like yourself, who has a lot of experience in team sports and stuff like that, he's used to that head coach riding his ass so they can make it to states, and those are the guys who they appreciate that and they're excelling and doing better.
Yeah, I think of the mentality piece for sure. The physical piece, it's like I have a bad habit of punching because what my mind is telling me is you want it to go further, push it harder.
Right.
Go faster.
Right.
You want to hit somebody hard in football, you go faster, you go harder. In fly casting, well, if you're not letting that cast develop and then or you're arcing it or you're punching it, right? Now all of a sudden it's like it's not about how big and strong you are. You could be 100 pounds and cast the whole fly line. You could be 400 pounds and not get the leader out. And that whole dynamic, I think, can be challenging. But it is neat for you guys to get the opportunity to, you guys get to fish together, get to support each other, see each other's businesses, and kind of, refine your own style. I'd love to kind of, one of the things that's neat about that is even like being in your home, I see all the fish art and you guys did a great job decorating. I'm assuming all the small touches and the leaves are Jeff and
absolutely.
But there's something that I'd love you guys to kind of help me think through that I'm thinking a lot about, because when we're talking about getting better, we're talking about seeing different things, having experiences, improving what you do. It takes time, and you got to build if it's important to you, you have to build your life around it to some extent, or it's not, or you're going to go 2 times a year. Talk to me about that.
The less you do it, less you do anything, it's always going to be a challenge. Someone who's great at something, someone who's a veteran, someone who's a specialist in their area, they've dedicated everything to it. They've put 10,000 hours into it. You think of an archer who's going deer hunting, season's coming up. Before season starts, that guy's on, in his backyard shooting that foam deer, just practicing shooting arrows down the way. You have to be able to accept it. What do you want out of it? How much are you willing to commit to this? And if you're just out to have fun and whatnot, so be it. It's like, hey, great, okay. It is what it is. But I think that's the mentality part. How much do you want it? How good do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm charging you $900 a day to come out here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
How much do you want to get out of it?
How much do you want to get out of it? Exactly. You know, do you want to be serious and be productive and successful? These are things that we have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to just go by the seat of our pants, well, I'm down with that too. You want to go have fun? That's fine. I can't guarantee success.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have some fun. You know.
And I mean, for you, you know, leaving real estate, I mean, you know, you could do real estate and slip out on the water whenever, you know, you get little windows. I mean, obviously, but
that's not where my heart was.
Yeah.
Though.
So what did it look like for you to try to build your life around it?
For me, it was just, I mean, obviously it was a conversation to have with Jeff first and foremost, and, you know, whether or not, I mean, it was a transition. So I was still, you know, I was still doing a little bit of real estate, but, you know, I also knew I didn't want to be, like I said, every single day on the water like Jeff. So with the female clientele, I'm already limiting my days on the water.
Mm-hmm.
So I allow myself 2-3 trips a week, if that's possible. Sometimes, you know, during a busy season, that's where it's at. Sometimes it's a little bit less than that. But
she does great.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than all of us.
Yeah.
You know, she has a unique niche.
What?
Like she has like what I would be describing to my guys on the boat. Like, you know, she has the mommy hours.
Yeah.
You know, the
Very
ladies can
much.
go and they can drop the kids off at the school. And then they go and they meet her down at the ramp at 8:30. They go fish till 12:30, 1 o'clock, back in time to go get the kids from school, you know?
yeah, there's a lot of days where I take the kids to school with the boat on the back,
Right.
drop them
Yeah.
off at school, and I'm meeting my client down at the ramp. We're going out, we're fishing.
Yeah, you have to be the coolest mom at the school, for sure. Like towing a boat.
I get
through
some
the-
looks. I get some looks.
Yeah.
Some head scratchers.
You need to
but-
put it on a Honda Odyssey. You know? We got the Honda Odyssey. No, but I mean, you know, I just think about, to me, I meet people and it's easy to wear the shirt. It's easy to say you want to do it. And then here you know,
She's
make
doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it. And you make the sacrifice and you build your life around it. And I think that, to me, that's what really inspires me along the way, whether people guide or not, you know. And it's cool that you found meaning and purpose in the business that you're building, to be able to take people who maybe, you know, I mean, you were working at a fly shop, but that's, for a lot of women, that could be an intimidating place to go.
You know, I didn't want to let something like this pass me by out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big, you know, reason for me to do it also, because I wanted to pursue something a little bit outside of my comfort zone and not wake up one day, you know, when I'm older and just say, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have bought that boat. I wish I would have guided. I wish I would, you know, I just didn't want to have any of those regrets. And it's kind of how I live my life now, is I don't want to live my life based on, you know, or not doing things based on fear to hold me back, because it was a huge jump for me. But I just didn't take no for an answer and just put myself in that, you know, in that position, and, you know, with the help of Jeff pushing me and just reassuring me that this was something I could absolutely do if I just put my mind to it. And I mean, I'm doing it.
She is.
And I'm loving it.
Fears, I think, you know, I'm talking about the design. So I read a book called Design Your Life, or Designing Your Life, and it was by two professors at Stanford who worked in the School of Design, and they took principles from design, not just like interior design, but all things design, mechanical and all of that, and they applied them to life. And as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, man, I just meet so many people who, what you just described, you were afraid of. You know, they just allow that fear to stop them from doing the things they love or want to do. And a long time ago, before I even started this podcast, I was listening to a podcast by Tim Ferriss, and he was talking about, you know, when we look at those jumps, the fears are obvious of, well, I'm afraid I'm going to have a hard time paying bills. And I'm afraid that if I try to do this, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And he said, and I thought this was really helpful, ask yourself the question, what are you afraid of if you don't?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what you just described. You know, I'm afraid that I'll be doing real estate and I'll be stressed out trying to get a contract together. And Jeff's going to be texting me that the water's perfect.
Yeah.
And I could have been out there with clients, making money, having fun, doing what I love.
Life's too short.
Yeah.
To hold back from doing the things that you love and pursuing where you want to be.
I mean, how blessed are we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not a day that I take for granted doing this. You know, I love it still to this day. You know, I do it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I'll go almost 200 days in a row without a day off.
Yeah.
You know, but I love it.
Well, it's like, and it's a Friday and we're driving around. I find myself sometimes going, why are there so many people out here in this channel? I mean, what do these guys even do? And I go, what do we do? We're here too, you know? So, but it's, you know, what's funny too about the time thing. And I've been kind of thinking through this, and I was curious y'all's thoughts on it is, you know, just stick with me on my illustration. I know Jeff loves illustrations, but you know, people say time's our greatest asset, right? And they use that language. And if you think about time as an asset, like money as an asset, you know, there's so many things in our life designed to take time from us. You know, there's apps on our phone that are designed to take as much time as they can get. The more time we're on them, the more money they make. You know, television or even other commitments, social pressures, the list goes on and on and on, not just technology. And if you think about that as like those things are designed to take your time, you could say, well, it's robbing time from me. You're responsible for it, but it's like stealing my time from me. And imagine if you think about phones and social pressures and all that, let's call it 40%. I'm just going to make it up. 40% of your time is being taken from you, robbed from you. It'd be like going in your bank account and 40% of the money gone and you going, well, you know, it's just how it is. You know, I'm not going to do anything about it. And so seeing time, if time is an asset, then you should care deeply about things that take time from you, meaning that they're not things you want to invest time and give time in. And if time's an asset, then, and if people say time's the greatest asset, then using your time to do what you love would actually be what wealth actually is. Right. And you could be like in one of the big buildings somewhere and you could have a big fancy office.
Right.
And tell yourself you're wealthy because you have a bunch of money. But
are you happy though?
Are you actually wealthy if it's not the greatest asset?
What is wealth?
Yeah.
And it's funny because what came to this was my girls just started playing Monopoly. And one of my girls was struggling because she lost the game, but she had the most money. But that's not how Monopoly works, right? The winner of Monopoly is not the person who has the most money.
Right.
The winner of Monopoly is the person who gets the properties.
Right.
And I think that's I don't think they intended it to be that way. But I mean, you think about life, like maybe life works a similar way.
Well, it's like you were saying, it's like, what is wealth? Wealth is different to everybody.
Right.
Is it the big bank account, you know? Or is it the freedom to like jump on a boat and go do whatever you want to do in this beautiful setting? You know, this is how I'm spending my day.
That's right.
I'm watching the sunrise. You know, this is only going to happen once today. And then never see it again until tomorrow, you know? I you know, like, if I won the lottery, my life wouldn't change a bit. You know, the old adage you hear every other fishing guide say, man, my life would move 16 feet. You know, I'd go from the back end of the boat to the front end of the boat. And literally, that's all that would change in my life as well. I live my life the way I want to live my life. You know, I'm blessed. And I do what I love to do every single day. You know, I'm the richest man in the world. You know, I wouldn't, you know, if I have money to put in the boat for gas, I'm set. You know, spending the day with her out there, you know, in Mother Nature, I don't need anything else. You know, we're pretty blessed. We're pretty lucky. You know?
It makes me think of that meme of if I won the lottery, I wouldn't change, but you might notice, and it's usually like a meme of like a super yacht or whatever. I mean, you know,
no, mine would be all animals.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about on the boat. As we wrap up our time together, I'd love just to hear a little bit about this. I've asked this over the years. when you think about the future for you guys, what does success look like? What would a successful next 20 years be?
A next 20 years, I mean, obviously business growth. I'd like to continue to, I'm still so new. I would love to continue to get some repeat clients, just in growing, and a lot of new clients, raising the kids, doing my best job there, doing our best job there. We've toyed around with some ideas of maybe, what our life would look like after they're out of the house. And
always a fun conversation.
Oh my gosh. And it's,
you mentioned earlier more animals.
Absolutely more animals, but it could not be here in Naples.
How many animals does a kid count for in your mind?
Oh my gosh.
Labor wise? Because I feel like a kid is like, at certain seasons there are a lot of animals depending on what the animal is. A lot of capacity opening up when
Christina has open arms.
Yeah, I
could be
see
like
myself...
the female Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
If she had it her way, I'd have 2 of everything.
Yeah.
We started off with a dog, and then we
Did I see a chicken coop in the back?
No. Well, that was for the guinea pigs.
Yeah. See, we had 3 guinea pigs, just got rid of those. We have 3 pet rats.
Oh my gosh, we did just get 3
we have
rats.
4 fish tanks.
Yeah,
Am I missing anything?
No, but
so Christina's gonna open a pet store.
I'm telling you, if it was
I would love to have
her,
a farm somewhere.
She would have a farm. She's like showing me pictures of goats and
donkeys,
and
yeah.
She wants to have chickens. She wants to have her own eggs. I'm like, no way, we're not having chickens.
We can't have that where we live.
Yeah.
Not where we live, but down the road,
maybe
I think that's kind of where we see ourselves, like kind of, maybe Naples, we love it here so much. We love Naples. I just, with the growth and everything, I don't,
Within
a lot of
now,
our peace has been, taken away, and it's not the same place that we grew up. I mean, it's changed so much. And I think would like to be somewhere a little quieter, around, just less people, and I think that's a lot of people's goal. And there's
everybody's goal.
Yeah, we're running out of options for that. I think the secret's out.
Yeah.
But I would still love to grow, both the businesses and just.
I'm sure your clients would come fish wherever your farm is.
I think
farm
so.
and fish.
Yeah,
that's the new combo.
Hey, and if we have to transition, to transition to bass fishing, so be it. Let's go.
Easy.
That's hard to picture. Jeff
that would
doing.
be a tough one.
What about you, Jeff? What do you think? Like when you think about just you've built a great business, a great reputation, but when you think about the next 20 years, and what do you feel like success looks like in this season of your business and guiding?
I mean, I feel like I already met the success that I was striving for when I was growing the business. Just I love it so much. I just want to extend what I have going, as far as all the clientele that I have, especially like my repeat clientele that more or less like family nowadays. And now the kids are coming into the picture. I appreciate now that I'm taking out father and son combos where the son was just a kid at one time, and now he's a full-grown adult fishing on the boat.
That's cool. Yeah. Second generation client. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't think I could be any happier than where I'm at right now. I'm extremely pleased with the people that I get to share time on the boat with, and I just hope to continue that. And I hope to, to have the ability to keep producing opportunities and, situations to make memories for these people, It's like a sorority almost, seeing the underclassmen making it to the top now, and it just it's a great progression. And I just, like I was saying, I just hope it continues. There's not much more that I could ask for. I have the people that want to be fishing with me, and the days are filled,
Yeah, he has no days off. So I don't know how much busier he could get.
People you're asking me, well, what would you do different? Nothing.
Yeah,
I love what I do, you know?
I don't know if he could sit still even in the next, I don't know if he could ever stop.
I love it.
Yeah.
And things are changing. I've been guiding professionally for 24 years now. But just in the past 5 years, let's just say the past 10 years, social media years, it's grown so much that the fishery has changed so much due pressure. Instead of getting salty and kind of down on it, I kind of found myself almost like in a new beginning stage again, to where like I need to adapt and change because of the effects of the pressure and all the people on the water. To where now there's something pushing me again, strive me to learn something new. What do I learn new in this classroom that I've been in my whole life? There's things there that to learn, and that's what's pushing me right now.
Yeah.
Because what I used to be able to pull off short 5 years ago, I can't do anymore. So now I'm in search for something new, and that's kind of intriguing to me. I got into this business, the fly fishing part, because of the challenge. Growing up here in Southwest Florida, it's easy to catch fish. Put a fish on a hook, throw it in there, you're going to catch a fish. But I already went through all that. I already caught them all. I already caught the biggest ones. Now, what's the hardest way to do it? What's the most challenging way to do it? And that's how fly fishing got in to my life and pushed me to the place where I want to be and get challenged every day, and I feel it again. And that, I think that's, to answer your question, that's what I'm looking for in the future. I got to find all these new things that are going to keep me excited and passionate to keep going and doing what I love to do. Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful for the time today, and it was really fun to get a chance just to, just to be able to come and see the water. I don't always get to fish with the people I interview, so it's a fun kind of warm up and opportunity just to, get a little bit of intel from my end on, things. And thank you for the time. It's been great just to learn from you guys and hear from you.
It was our pleasure. I'm glad we can pull it off. We've been talking about it for what?
Couple years.
Yeah, for a while now. It's great that we did get to
I've got my calendar out with Jeff multiple times.
Oh my gosh.
It's, I think for me it worked out really well, but I think this is what people don't realize from Florida. Like, oh, you guys all live in Florida. It's like, I live
Florida's
9 hours from
right.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Right.
I texted Jeff this morning because I sent him a gif of Elf, Will Ferrell, and Elf trying to navigate New York. That was me trying to get out of a Circle K parking lot in Central Florida. It's just, it's a big place, and I'm glad it lined up. I hope it lines up again. Hope you guys get a chance to come up to my area and we can all hang out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can show you some properties where you can have a farm and you can fish saltwater.
See?
We do have
Here's
bass.
how it happens.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah, but thank you guys for the time. I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.